Hi, my name is Carlos Vinicius. I'm Brazilian and postdoctoral research at the Institute of Psychology of the University of São Paulo, that is in Brazil. This presentation is about student well-being at Brazilian public university in the COVID pandemic. In the case of USP, University of São Paulo, and includes as co-author the Professor Alessandro de Oliveira dos Santos, that is the coordinator of the project, and the master student Bruna Muñoz. My postdoctoral fellowship regards the project about the limits and possibilities for the good living of Black students in the University of São Paulo. This research is supported by FAPESP, that is the São Paulo Research Foundation. We among other research are investigating students' well-being and episodes of prejudice and discrimination in academic achievement. This investigation includes the application of subjective well-being scale, interviews, and focal groups with Black students. So you may ask yourselves, what is our purpose here, right? The Brazilian federal law ensure most equal condition for university interest by approving social and racial quotas. Even though we have some advances on this matter, there are still some argument against it, such as the university's educational quality deterioration. That opens a window for discrimination for Black and Indigenous students at the university, of course, and point out the implicit racism and racial prejudice against no hegemonic students' identity in the academic environment. The hostile scenario of racism impacts in the self-esteem, academic achievement, health, wellness, and well-being of Black and Indigenous students. Size it decrease their work memory capacity to increase their anxiety. So we collected data of 634 students of USP from June to September of last year, which matched the time of SARS-CoV-2 outbreak. This study was collected through an online questionnaire, self-answered. The moment in which this data was collected is so interesting because the students responded while living in restrictive measures, isolation, contamination, fear of contamination, fear of the death, fear of losing family and friends. At the same time, online class, home office, activity, overload, about many other factors. Considering that, I will focus at this presentation on the student well-being in the COVID pandemic. This is the characteristic of our collected sample. And about age, the student degree, the student level degree, the gender, race, color, and mental disorder diagnosis, which is a very high proportion in the general sample. How I said, we use the subjective well-being scale adapted to the Brazilian context. And this scale seeks to measure how much is the prevalence of positive or negative effects in recent time, looking for the first two factors, the positive and the negative effects, and in the medium term, on how much does the person evaluate their own life, how satisfactory or not satisfactory. Uh, we use the software of statistical package of social science to the data treatment and analyze, and going to the outcomes. Firstly, by the subjective well-being data analysis covering the three factors. Remember, positive effects, negative effects, and satisfaction with life. It was found that the sample had a low level of subjective well-being, uh, uh, showing that prevalence of negative effects factor in the students over the other factors. That is, the students of the University of São Paulo has lived on negative effects and feelings. Other important outcome that is related to the negative effects and feelings is based on the technique of free vocation among well-being and university that was lexically analyzed by the software Iramtech, through the word cloud and the descending hierarchical classification. And sorry, and it shows that students represent the semantic fields of well-being significantly dissociated from the fields of the university, which has the notions, the notions of universities is overrepresented by the ambivalence between personal achievement and big challenge, as well is overrepresented by the negative effects of malaise. Seeking to understand the influence of pandemic moment, the Afro-Brazilian students is more impacted, and, and they have the lower level of well-being too. Uh, but we didn't verify significant difference by ethnic racial identity. That is, it seems that the pandemic does not influence differently, significantly different Black, Asian, or white students. Uh, okay, but that is significant different by the gender identity. The women signalize more impacted by the pandemic in their well-being than men. And the study's outcomes show that there is no significant impact of the gender and the race interaction, but shows that the high measure are with the Asian men than the white men and black men, and then Asian woman, white woman, and then with the lower measure of well-being is with the black woman. we understand that this very low level of well-being and high stratosphere is beyond the of pandemic moment. It is related to the high proportion. It's related to the high proportion of mental disorder that is 43% of the students and high level of anxiety and depression. And the low level of well-being is also related to the representation of the students' ambivalence and negative experience with the university, linked to the malaise, negative affect report, grand demand for competence, career expectation, among other aspects. Regarding the ethnic racial comparison, there are no significant difference, and perhaps because with the pandemic, black students do not need to experience the hostile environment of the universe by the racism or racial prejudice and or another discrimination justified. Uh, they don't even need to have a long trip to go to the university, and considering that it is the ethnic racial group that take the longest trip to with by the public transport to go to the university. And on the other hand, the levels of well-being between men and women stand out. We infer that with the restrictive measures, the accumulation and overload of academic and domestic activities significantly impacted the well-being of women, which may represent the machismo and the sexism operating in their homes, right? Thank you very much, and here is my contact for comments and doubles or communications. Thank you very much.